will show that. Dat lijkt niet aan Word. Explain it better than this animation. And you see all the different stages of how we do now the logistics and fabrication, and how it can be in the future. That this cup knows it's a cup, so if it's on the side, it knows I'm on the wrong way, so it can turn itself up, and the DNA of the cup is embedded in the cup. And more Robocop kind of product. We have. This is not the first digital revolution. We had many before. The most important ones is communication. Everything is now digital. Every phone call you make is digital communicated. Maybe in the mining and in the tunnels, they still have analog. If everything fails, that they still can call for help. Computation, big rooms full of computers, replaced by small microchips, calculating more than what was possible in the big rooms. And now also with fabrication. And the idea of Fab Lab has its origin at MIT, Neil Gershenfeld is a professor, and he researched which machines do you need to make everything you want. And he said, if I have a milling machine, a vanaf cutter, and a laser cutter, you can create everything you want. And if you cannot create it with these machines, you can create a machine with these machines to make what you want to make. And of course, these machines we also have in the lab. So please walk around, or if you didn't do it so, but after the presentation, that there's all working. And the interesting thing is that everything we create here in the lab, you need a computer file. You have to send it from the computer towards the machine. But I can also send it, because it's a computer file, by email to the other side of the world, and create exactly the same product less than 5 minutes later on the other side of the world without transportation in a physical way. So I don't need a container ship, I just can send the product out. So everything you can make here, you can make everywhere in the world, and there's a whole network of Fab Labs, and they're doubling every 18 months, so that you can also count maybe the hacker spaces, maker spaces, 100K garage, so there are more places where you have sort of the same tool set. A lot of schools now also companies, so you can actually create every product almost everywhere. What do people create here in the lab? It's just an idea they have, a light, maybe a nice lamp, and they cannot buy it in the shop, or a robot, and yeah, it's easier with the laser cutter than doing a jigsaw on your kitchen table. Nice design classic. The refill light with a light bulb. You probably cannot buy them anymore within 10 years. So somebody thought, okay, I make one with the fluorescent light or LEDs. It's typically something that the design label will never start selling, this kind of thing. But if you make it yourself, yeah, why not? You can do it. Maybe a better example is this. Two big toy companies, Leo and Lego. A lot of people see children play with both, almost the same age, and saying that it's like mixed together, but you cannot really fit them on top of each other. And both brands probably want to have a block like this, and say, yeah, it's a good idea, and then it comes on to rights and revenues, and the legal department jumps in. And I really think you will not find this block at the Toys or Spark Smiths. But if you can create it yourself, then it's not a problem. So this is typically a product which you never see in the shop, but where there is a need for it, and if you can create it yourself, you can really create it. You're not allowed to sell it, but you can create it for yourself.
Yeah.
And it started with just a straight piece, connection piece, and now you have crossings, bridges, wide pieces, everything. Because you can create things in the lab pretty fast, you can also do product development. And normal to come from an idea to market in the Netherlands takes 2 to 4 years, so it's quite a long time. And this product was developed from idea to market within a year. And it was really needed because the Dutch railways, they had a lot of skimming problems 4 or 5 years ago. And then, hey, welkom. Hi. Ja hoor, pak een stoel. Druk in naar je standplaats. Doe er snel een drankje of doe je een auto? So this was developed within a year, and as the Dutch railways, they didn't have any skimming problems at all anymore. So it's also nice. It also worked. As I said, with those machines you can create everything. Or you can create another machine which you want. This is the RevRap. I founded like 6, 7, 8 years ago by Adrian Boyer, another professor. We have one there on the top. You see it's still great. This is like the top of the list of the pyramid of homemade 3D printers. And the idea of this machine is that it can create all the parts itself. So all the white and green parts are so designed that you can print them with this machine. 3D printing, I don't have to explain, it's putting material on top of each other, very precise, and if you can do if you know a way to speed up toothpaste, then you can 3D print toothpaste. And if you do this plastic to plastic, so that's actually not very special. But you can create very nice objects. For example, the shoes. If they're too small, you grind it, put some extra plastic with it, and you print bigger shoes. Or you can print new machine parts. For example, for your new machine, this is a Game Boy, by the way. And this machine, all these parts are printed with this machine. So that's really nice that you can print your own printer. Nice concept. That's why we started 6 years ago with the RepRap masterclass. And but it was very technical. It was like building a robot. And we were 9 participants, and 8 of them they just wanted to build a robot. And if it was 3D printed, it was fine, but they just liked to work with the electronics and the mechanics. And one wanted to have it 3D printed. And but we kind of made them work. It was quite complex. And but all these parts you can print. And if this part starts cracking, you see a small little crack, then you think, oh, it will break soon, so you can print a new part before it really breaks. And in 3 weeks it starts cracking again. And you think, okay, I print another spare part, and I print another spare part. But the other idea is that you can redesign this part, so you make it stronger, so the next time it doesn't crack anymore. Then you don't speak from revolution, but then you speak from evolution. And the Darwin, is the RepRap Darwin, that's like the first generation. Mendel, the second, and now you have like 400, 500 derivatives of the RepRap, but they're all based on this technology and people sharing that ideas. As I said, we started with 6 years ago with a masterclass. We did it 2 times, and then we thought, no, it's too complex and the quality is not so good, so it's too hard to build a machine like that. And then a MakerBot came on the market, and it was really nice because you only need 2 weekends to put it together. And the 3rd weekend it broke down. So we thought, okay, with the knowledge of the other masterclasses we gave with the RepRap, we can do better. And then one of the first participants, he was a graphic designer, was actually the only one who wanted to make a 3D printer to use it as a 3D printer or to create it like this. He came up with a box. He's one of the CEOs of utrecht. Siert, my direct colleague, he worked as the lab manager here as well. He was making some electronics, and we also had Erik de Bruijn, and Erik de Bruijn is like Mr. RepRap universe, especially in the Netherlands. He was already in the core development team and all physical bit. It was like 6 years ago, so very, very old. And then we created the Ultimate, and we did like 3-4 master classes with those machines. And that was, that worked so easy that everybody really can make this machine. You don't need to be a technical guy anymore. And now we do the masterclass in 2.5 days. You can build your own machine. And actually it's 1 evening introduction, 1 day building, and 1 day using the machine already. So it's not even 2.5 days. You can also offer it as a team building in 1 day. But it's so easy that really everybody can create it. And that's the Ultimate. So it was more or less born here. That's the history. And because it's so easy to build this machine, you also attract other people with totally different professions who can use these machines. Like pastry, bakery, kind of culinary things, but also biotechnologists. We also had the jewelry designer, very interesting. And I really like that they meet and they share their information, because the technical guy knows really well how to make this machine, but he doesn't know how to create a nice object. That's also with 3D hubs. We have the machines, and I don't know who printed something out for 3D hubs, but I always think, oh, it's interesting. Oh, it's this kind of object. Can I print it with this technique? Or so you look at the different way as the user who first sends the object. I just think I want this object, and doesn't think of how to create the object. And also, in this example, jewelry design is a very analog profession. So he was glad he was able to print the ring. And I think, okay, the printing the ring is not so difficult. And then the next week he brought it back and it was in gold. And then I was thinking, but how do you translate the plastic into gold? Then you have to make a mold, then you have to heat it up, and it's all difficult, and I don't have the tools. Oh yeah, that part, it's very easy. So you mix things, you create, and yeah, we have every 6 weeks we have sort of gathering of uses of 3D printers. It's every time somewhere else. Yesterday it was in The Hague. It's also often here in protospace. And then you see all these people talking to each other. Yeah, he knows. And he knows. So it's yeah, it's interesting how that works. Over to cookies. Look maybe a bit odd, but if you look at a kitchen over the world is on every place in the world it looks the same. Every kitchen has a pot, every kitchen has an oven, every kitchen has a fork. So you have basically the same tools in every kitchen. So if you want to create a cookie and you want to send it to South America, you don't create it, put it in a box and send it over because it's old. No, you write down the recipe. You say you need this wheat, you need these chocolate chips, and you need these other ingredients. And then on the other side of the world, they're thinking, oh, but I don't have that particular wheat, but I can use maybe some other. And I don't have M&Ms, but I can use some other chocolate thing. So you gather your local ingredients, and you create it in your own kitchen with the same sort of pot, same sort of oven, same sort of. So you have the same tools. So it's very normal that you send the recipe to the other side of the world instead of the product itself, the cookie. So why do we send the product over the world? If we have a kitchen with a laser cutter, a final cutter, and a milling machine, and maybe 3D printers, and maybe some other tools extra, there's not one single tool where you can create everything. 40 years ago, we have the microwave, so we can put away the kitchen. We put there the microwave, and then you can create every meal. It's not true. It's a tool in the kitchen, and maybe a very important tool for some people, and maybe a less important tool for other people. But it's just a tool. So the goal is not 3D printing. The goal is digital production and digital fabrication. And if I want to cook a meal for 10 people, it's possible in my place. But if I want to cook a meal for 50 people, it's quite difficult. But if I look to a professional kitchen, it's the same set of tools. You still have the pot, you still have the oven, you still have the fork, you still have the spoons. It's only slightly bigger, so it's more industrialized, but it's the same sort of tools. And you see that digital fabrication is the key and not 3D printing. Everything at IKEA is digital fabricated. It's only mass-produced somewhere in Poland or Russia, and then transported to the shop. But you can do exactly the same round in IKEA as you do now. You walk up the stairs, you choose your billy, you choose the color, you choose not 1 meter, 1 meter 20, but I want it on 1 meter 3.5. I want 5 shelves instead of 6. You finish your round, you walk down, and there you see your flat pack, but you don't pull it off the shelf. No, it's just freshly off the machine, and this sheet of material doesn't know beforehand if it will become a chair, a table, or a cabinet, or whatever. And you still have to put it together. It's still the same flat pack. And that's also digital fabrication. And that's maybe a bigger part than 3D printing in the end, volume. Same with the industrial revolution of the previous century. Everybody thinks it's the steam train. And that's the icon of the revolution. It's not the revolution, it's the icon. The 3D printer is also the icon of the digital fabrication revolution. So we send drawings, and then you can create a worldwide production network, and I think that 3D goes better in explaining this part. And what do we do at the protospace? We do workshops. Here are, behind this wall are 6 people having an introduction course in SketchUp and 3D printing. We do master classes built around 3D printer or some other things, multiple day courses. We have nice educational projects going around. This is a castle project. There are a lot of castles in the area of Utrecht which don't exist anymore. And it's for elementary school kids, grades